What is going on, everybody? Chris here. Welcome back to another full self-driving video. We are on version 14.1.3, which has gone pretty wide. Not everybody has this version yet, but a lot of people are getting the latest FSD version 14 update. So congrats to you and enjoy, and let me know down in the comments what you think about this version. I've been sharing a lot of thoughts here, and in this video, I want to just let the car drive around and talk to you about some other stuff. Talk about Tesla stock. I'm doing a little experiment with YouTube here. So I want to talk about Tesla stock, kind of the future of FSD in terms of hardware and software, and just some other topics that I kind of want to go over in this video, and just, you know, be able to chat while we let the car drive around. I'm not probably going to comment too much on what the car's doing unless it's, you know, extra spectacular, but we can just kind of observe this software work and do its job here. Now, the one thing I'll say is I'm on MadMax. I'm going to keep MadMax this entire video. I might get a ticket. I might, if there's no cops, I'm good. MadMax is safe, but it's really fast. So, and it likes to pass everybody. So if we go by a cop, it might be the end, but we'll see how it does here. I did want to demonstrate it for you and show it to you. What I will say about the speed profiles, one thing I'm really enjoying in 14 overall, FSD 14, is that each speed profile does a really good job of getting up to whatever its max speed is. What that is, I'm not gonna really comment on, but whatever the max speed of that profile is, FSD is going for it. If you don't like that max speed, you can scroll down, you can change to a lower speed profile, and you can then have a lower top speed, but FSD is always trying to get there for you, which I personally really enjoy. So, we had the earnings call last night. I don't know when this video is coming out, but we had the earnings call, and there was FSD talk, of course, on there. Robotaxi talk, Cybercab talk. But I kind of want to talk about things that are affecting us directly as customers and what we can expect over the next few weeks and months, and talk about Tesla stock and the future of FSD. So Tesla stock, as of now, it initially reacted pretty poorly to the earnings call, which is typical for a lot of companies, but for Tesla's a really volatile stock. It moves around a lot, which is nice if you like to gamble on options, but not always fun if you're just holding. And it was down pretty good, but it looks like now it's almost break even, and it looks like it's probably going to be green by the end of the day. So not a bad reaction to a really, really good earnings. But, you know, the big thing with this earnings in quarter 3 was, of course, the tax credit was ending. There was a huge wave of demand because the tax credit was ending in the US. And people were kind of concerned that, like, okay, well, yeah, of course they're going to sell a bunch of cars right now, but is that going to continue? And we did see a lot of, you know, a surge in demand in places outside of the US as well, which was pretty nice to see. But let's talk about FSD. So I broke this up into, it's just so good. I broke this up into a few categories here, and I might get dinged at because I have them next to me. I'm going to be peeking at them. But so let's talk about the status and the rollout. So Elon said anyone with, you know, he didn't say this exactly, but if you have hardware 4, model S, 3, X, and Y, sorry, Cybertruck, you can go into your software tab, make sure you have advanced selected here, and you will get FSD 14 and you can experience it, FSD 14.1.3. Now the advanced tab has never really seemed to do anything, and that at the time he said that wasn't true because most people had it, but a few hours after he said that, a huge wave of this went out. Tons of people got FSD 14.1.3 and are mostly enjoying it. There's definitely some complaints, some people don't like it. And I've pointed out, along with others, a lot of the kind of the main thing that FSD 14.1.3 is messing up is that it's just hitting the brakes too much at stop signs. It really likes to stop for everything. So if you have sometimes leaves blowing across the road, it'll try to stop for that. Like you don't want to do that. At the same time, from like just a perspective of kind of like checking out the software, it's really cool to see that the car is responding and reacting to so many small little things. It's just a little too aggressive in what it's kind of stopping for. And Elon pointed out that when they first are doing these big updates, they err on the side of caution. Safety's number one. We love to hear it. That's very good. But so that can lead to these things where you're seeing too much braking. And I'm adding some words here. He didn't say exactly that, but he said that, you know, safety's number one. And he advised, like, you know, 14.2 is probably a better update to roll out wide because it's gonna have the safety, but also have more comfort. They focus on comfort after they have the safety nailed down, which makes sense, and they should do that. So with you know, these bleeding edge updates, you're seeing some of the brake stabbing. You're seeing where it hits the brakes, you know, 10 times a second at stop signs. You're seeing it's braking for pedestrians when it doesn't need to, because it's extra safe, and that's a good thing overall. But some people don't want to experience that. They want to just chill out with their polished 13.2.9 software and enjoy that. This is so good. And enjoy that software and just let me and other people like me work out the bugs, and then they can receive a software update later. So just keep that in mind. If you don't want to deal with weird braking and the steering wheel kind of jiggling and stuff like that, just, you know, keep it on the not advanced tab, the standard tab, and you can get 14.2 later. He also said they're adding reasoning later this year. I feel like from the driver's seat, the car is already reasoning in certain scenarios, especially when it comes to parking. I don't always like its reasoning, but it feels like it's making decisions, like it's looking around like you or I would and saying, oh, I could do this or this. Let me kind of figure out which one I want to do. And I've said that for a while. FSD's kind of, you know, felt like that for a bit now, but it's way more in version 14, where it is kind of doing this reasoning and thinking. But he said that more of that is coming in like version 14.3, 14.4, and we'll see how that plays out. You know, the version numbers kind of change over time, and it's never exactly kind of what they're planning. They kind of, Tesla changes stuff on the fly. But it was still interesting to hear. And, you know, they're still going for, yeah, I know. They're still going for unsupervised by the end of the year in certain cities. So there was a little break there. Didn't need it, but the car's just being extra cautious. You know, and unsupervised, he talked a lot about being able to text in the car. And he brought up a funny point. You know, anytime you're driving, just look around, especially on the highway. You'll just see more people than not are like this, you know, texting. And, you know, I've done it before. I'm not trying to like talk down too much on people, but Elon was basically saying like the big thing is when we can say you can buy a Tesla and then you can legally sit here and text while it drives you around. That's what's really gonna bring a lot of people into Tesla. And I totally agree. If you get to that safety point and you legally can tell, you can't do that today, but if you legally can tell people like, look, if you have the software enabled, go ahead and you can text, and that is fine. That's gonna attract a lot of people. A lot of people won't trust it. A lot of people will think that's dumb or whatever, but there's gonna be a huge amount of people that really want that feature, and then kind of jump in and you know, want to buy a Tesla because of that feature. So that was really interesting to hear. I want to talk about Hardware 3 as well. Tesla's kind of said the same thing for a while, and Tesla's CFO actually, he said he drives a Hardware 3 car. And Tesla basically said, like, you know, we are going to update Hardware 3 once we get unsupervised on Hardware 4. We'll go back, do what we need to do to bring that to Hardware 3. But until then, it doesn't make much sense for us to do retrofits or anything when we haven't even technically solved, you know, unsupervised on Hardware 4. They don't know what they need to do. They don't even know what they need to retrofit. And guys, I hate to say it, but Hardware 4 might not get to unsupervised for customers. Obviously in Austin, it's like very close because there's nobody in the driver's seat, but it's still being supervised. There's somebody in the passenger seat supervising it. So think about in a world where Hardware 4 doesn't get to unsupervised and Tesla did a bunch of retrofits. That would be crazy. Now they got to go retrofit all Hardware 4, all of Hardware 3. So it makes sense. Wow, that was, I don't think that was a good decision. I'm gonna report that. Did we have a red light? I'm chatting. I didn't see the red light. It wasn't dangerous. It's not like there was gonna be a collision, but if the light was still green, that wasn't a good decision. If the light was still red, that was beautiful. So that's what they're waiting for. They also said that by Q2, they're gonna have version 14 Lite that they're gonna have for Hardware 3. And like, you know, it's exciting. It's good that Hardware 3 is still gonna get updates. I know it's probably 9 months at least, so you're gonna be waiting for that. And so a lot of Hardware 3 people are like, oh my gosh, I don't want version 14 Lite. I want to retrofit. And I get it, that makes sense. And a lot of people pointed out that version, oh, see this braking? Like, come on, just go. A lot of people pointed out that, you know, Hardware 3 was supposed to get version 13 Lite, and it didn't. Well, it did. That's what the current Hardware 3 is running. You know, it says version 12, but just it's version 13 Lite. That's what it is. So they have that. And I've heard, you know, leave your comments down below. I've heard from a lot of people that their Hardware 3 cars are performing great. I will say, the last time I tried a Hardware 3 car, which was probably a year ago at this point, it wasn't very good compared to Hardware 4. It made a lot more mistakes and just a lot more like, you know, cautious and doing weird braking and stuff. All right, what are we gonna do here? Hold on, I need to lock in and pay attention here. We're waiting. It's not displaying the door opening. Did they get rid of that animation? I loved that, but it did display her when she got out. Yeah, I would go around this guy. Oh, yeah, it sees him. Look how fast it reacts to the, yeah, just get out of here. Sweet. I've heard a lot of people say their Hardware 3 cars are performing great. I have also heard a few people say it's total garbage, their Hardware 3 sucks, and it doesn't work very well. But overwhelmingly, the majority, is this a parking spot? Oh, it is. All right, well, let's see what happens. Overwhelmingly, I'm hearing that Hardware 3 people are happy with the way their car is performing. They still want retrofits, they still want to get version 14, and they want to get, like, be able to start from park, and they want the car to do what this is doing right now and be able to park at the end of a journey, and then just boop, click a button, and immediately the car starts driving. But, well, not immediately. It's not going into drive. Can't say I've seen this. That's interesting. We'll let it sit. But so that's kind of the updates, there you go, on Hardware 3. It's coming, but it's going to, be a little bit of a wait. So what do I got next here? Oh, Robotaxi. Maybe we'll save that for later. So as of right now, it looks like 12% of people that can have FSD have it. And that seems to include both bought outright, like I own my FSD, and subscribers. So people that just pay the $100 a month to subscribe. Whoa, that was crazy. Look at this little glitch. Look at this little graphical glitch here. It's still showing a cyclist there. Obviously, they're not there. Interesting. I wonder what will happen with that. So there's a lot of room for people to buy FSD, which, in turn, of course, would help Tesla stock and all of that. So the car is not object and path detected. Take over to proceed. I'm just going to sit here and see what happens. All these cars are going to pass me, which is fine. We're just going to let FSD figure this out. We might have an intervention here. There you go. Cyclist is gone now. So, if you're talking in terms of Tesla stock and you care about Tesla stock, can you tell what my experiment is yet with YouTube? Tesla stock... Hey, you know what? 30-second delay, 20-second delay, whatever. It was kind of weird that it showed a cyclist there, but I don't really care that much. You have a lot of room to grow for FSD adoption, and it's almost like, how like there's a lot of people that hate Teslas, and you're like, oh yeah, they obviously have not driven a Tesla. FSD is kind of the same way, and we've seen it with our spouses, we've seen it with our friends, or with ourselves, where it's kind of like, ugh, I don't trust that, I don't like that, blah, blah, blah. And then you start to use it and you're like, hey, this thing's awesome. And then you're like, hey, I don't want to be without this. I think FSD is going to kind of see that same thing that Tesla vehicles, whoa, that driver did not see that pedestrian. Whew, that guy needs FSD, y'all. That guy needs FSD. Oh, that stuff is scary. I think you'll see the same thing with FSD adoption. And what's funny is I was almost the same way when the first time I ever used Autopilot was just in a demo car. We get on the highway, the guy tells me, like, all right, turn it on. And I turn it on, I have my hands on the wheel. You have to pull on the old ones. I pull it to turn it on, and it immediately turns off. And it scared me. I was like, oh, why is it turning off? He goes, oh, turn it on again. I turn it on again. He goes, my man, you got to let go of the steering wheel. You're taking control as soon as you turn it on. I go, it's scary. I don't want to let go of the steering wheel. And look at me now. So, I think we might see that with FSD over time as well. So yeah, they talked about not abandoning Hardware 3, which is good. Already talked about that. So the driving experience priorities also, the first releases being kind of jerky, having this braking we've seen a couple times already in this video, and then working on the smoothness after, 100% the safety is down, it's the way they should do it. And it's why they have these tiered rollouts. The other thing I'll mention, a lot of people ask me, like, why do they even roll out? Why can't they just send it to everyone? The chances are low, but there could be a bug in here that bricks cars, right? I've gotten an FSD update before that. It never bricked my car, but it just constantly was doing the take over immediately warnings. This is a long time ago. And it would drive for a little bit and then take over immediately. Did they want to send that out to everyone? No. They rolled it out to a few people, they see that bug, and then they go, oh, all right, hold on, let's fix this before we send it to more people. So that's why they do the tiered rollouts. I realize a lot of people like me, like myself, don't care, and they're like, just send me the latest software, I'll deal with the bugs. But Tesla has to kind of do that carefully. And I've actually seen sentiment from people that have received 14, even before this latest wave. It was like the little small rollout. And people were kind of posting like, oh, this sucks, I want 13 back. That already happened. So you got to kind of keep that stuff in mind. That's why that happens. So let's talk about, AI 5, that's, whoa, okay. Well, okay, So it kind of a hard break there for the yellow light, and then we had some pedestrians. That's not bad. I don't know. I think that was a good decision probably. So AI 5 is coming eventually, guys. It originally, like a couple of years ago, was going to come out by the end of this year, by the end of 2025, maybe early 2026. But it looks like that's been pushed back quite a bit. We don't know a timeline, and we don't even know exactly what AI5 is going to bring. So when we went from hardware 3 to hardware 4, a lot changed. The computer changed. It didn't get a ton more powerful, but it definitely got more powerful. It got better cooling, and it got higher resolution cameras, and it got actually one less camera in the front. So behind this mirror here, there used to, well, you can't see because my editing, but behind the rear view mirror, there used to be 3 forward-facing cameras, and now there's 2 that work. So we actually lost a camera going to hardware 4. Then hardware 4 added the front bumper camera, which we have on this vehicle. I don't have on my, you don't need it for version 14. My 2023 Model Y does not have this front bumper camera and runs version 14 just fine. So what hardware 4 will bring, or hardware 5 will bring, or AI5, for sure that we know, is a more powerful computer. Elon said in some metrics, I'm sure it's very specific, it's 40 times more powerful. That is an unbelievable jump in performance. 40 times more powerful than hardware 4. And so you're gonna be able to have more parameters, you'll be able to have the computer do more things for you, react faster. And in certain instances, hopefully use less energy, you know, that matters as well. But you're gonna have that hardware 5, and camera-wise, we don't know. There could be another bump in resolution. If you have all of this, you know, this more powerful computer, you can now go through more pixels at a time, have a higher refresh rate on those pixels if you want it, or you could have the same amount of pixels with an even higher refresh rate, or you could have more pixels with less refresh rate, or the same refresh rate. You know, you have options. It's whatever Tesla, you know, thinks is important in terms of the camera. And we don't know what that change is gonna be. Both Samsung and TSMC are going to be making it, and what's interesting is Tesla said that they are going to, I'm just going to let this park again and see what happens here. Elon said they're going to aim to overproduce AI5, because if they don't have enough cars to put it in, they can put it in the data centers, they can do other things with those chips. They'll be putting it in Optimus as well. I love Optimus, I can't wait. I'm surprised you're not waiting for that next pedestrian. I am surprised to see that. It felt fine. Nothing wrong with it at all. I'm just surprised, that's all. So let's see, I think we're gonna park right here. It has parking lot selected. Okay, whatever, that's fine. And AI5 is gonna come out, and it could be, you know, by the end of next year, by the end of 2026, probably end of 2026, early 2027. What that's going to mean for customer cars, I don't know. The other thing that lines up with that release, or something that we should kind of compare it to, is Elon said that Cybercab production is going to be starting in Q2 of next year, and I don't believe hardware 4 is going to be ready for that. Or hardware 5, sorry, is going to be ready for Cybercab production, but the initial Cybercab production, of course, will be very small numbers. So who knows? Maybe they'll have some hardware 5s, and they're throwing that in Cybercab, and we won't even know. We won't even be able to tell, especially if the camera setup doesn't change. And even if the camera setup does change, who knows if it's still hardware 4 and they just wanted to change it for Cybercab, right? So there's a lot there to think about. If you're considering a Tesla and you're not sure, I'm very happy with this hardware 4 experience, but it's hard because if you buy a car every 10 years, you probably want to wait another year or two for AI5, right? Because you're going to be stuck with that for a long time. And I think that might be a good decision, but that's a personal decision you got to make, and probably a whole video on its own. Elon also talked about the cars being like almost too smart and like getting bored, which was kind of funny. It's kind of going off into a little bit of far future stuff, but you know, being able to use the cars if they're not driving around for inference compute or helping the fleet do stuff, which I find pretty interesting. And it is something to think about, you know, I always think about like, if we have these super intelligent AIs and we're just like, hey, make me a spreadsheet, you know what I mean? Like, hey, super intelligent AI, I'm going to go to Detroit and I need some difficult streets to drive on. Could you make me a route for my YouTube videos? Like, it's a weird thing to think about, but a super intelligent AI is going to be like bored of that. It doesn't want to do those kind of things. So I don't know. It's an interesting thing to think about. So sorry, I'm just observing everything going on here. Cool. Interesting. All right. What else did I have on my list here? Oh, the semi was brought up, which I found, you know, decently interesting. It was pretty obvious answer in my opinion, but you know, someone asked, like, are you going to have FSD on the semi? Because as of right now, from my understanding, there's like a legal issue with using Autopilot on the Tesla semis. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I've heard. And so I've heard that the Tesla semi doesn't even have like base Autopilot or anything, like they're not allowed to. But, you know, they basically answered, they're like, hey, once we have autonomy solved or we have unsupervised FSD, it'll be very simple for us to just throw that on the semi. So they're not focusing on the semi, but think about Cybertruck, like Cybertruck 13.2.9. compared to Model Y 13.2.9 are two different things. Cybertruck is worse FSD. It's just a fact. It's not bad, but it's worse. And it still doesn't, S3, S, and X for the most part are on version 14. That's it, man. Version 14's out there in the wild. People are using it all over the place, getting their cars to point A to point B with the press of a button. Cybertruck still doesn't have it. Cybertruck doesn't have Smart Summon. Cybertruck, I mean, it's just like, so throwing that on the Semi might not be as trivial as, they're saying, but I think for us, like, who cares? Like, I'm not going to buy a Semi, so I think for most people that's not important. Where it is important is just overall kind of safety of the roads. Tesla was showing they're going over 6 million miles per accident with Autopilot and FSD, which is huge, man. That's really big, and that's really impacting people's lives. Now, when you want unsupervised, I think you want to be going more like 50 million. But hey, you know what? They're approaching. It's not that far off. So he has right away, and we're gonna wait for him. Beautiful. Yeah, that was beautiful. Wait for that pedestrian. No brake stabbing, just a beautiful little slowdown, letting that guy go ahead, and we absolutely should have waited for him. He had right away there, so that was good. I'm gonna get this destination out of here so we can just continue on our little journey here. So yeah, Semi, interesting. And I mean, those are the main, kind of the main topics I was kind of talking about. I'm interested in the stock. A lot of people ask me like, oh, how much stock do you own? Because, I think it matters somewhat, because now this intersection, I'm always never sure if I should be in the right lane to turn or not. The paint and markings are so messed up. I don't know. I'm not sure. And that's a bike lane over there. So honestly, I don't know what lane I'm supposed to be in here. I'm going to be honest. I own 2 shares of Tesla as kind of a joke. So I didn't have any. In the past, I had some. I didn't have any shares. And part of me likes that because I can like analyze FSD and talk about Tesla and stuff, and people can't just be like, oh, it's because you have shares, you're trying to pump the stock. Not that like some random YouTuber could do that anyway, but it's a talking point. And I saw a few years ago one of the investor meetings, and I was like, I want to go to that. So I bought 1 share, and I was like, all right, now I'm a shareholder. The shareholder meeting, I qualified to go to that. And I went, and I was very impressed, so I doubled my holdings. So now I have 2 shares of Tesla. Will I buy more in the future? Maybe. I'm not going to like be like, hey guys, I've bought exactly 67 shares of Tesla today. Maybe I'll buy more at some point. But as of now, I have 2 shares, just, for clarity so everybody knows. And I couldn't move the needle even if I wanted to. So I would love to go to the shareholder meeting next month. I don't have an invite, and I haven't received DM. So somebody did DM me, but I wasn't sure I could go. I think I can go now. So if somebody invites me, maybe I will, but if I miss it, then so be it. So, all right. So the other things I want to talk about as we finish up, because we're almost at the destination here, is maybe this should have been at the beginning, what you can expect for version 14. So I noticed when it started going wide last night, I think, did I mention this? I had a huge spike in my views on YouTube from Google. People were getting this update to their cars and going to Google and typing FSD 14.1.3, which I find very funny. And they were finding my video. Google was suggesting my video, and I had a huge spike in views because of that. And I felt a little bad because in that video, I'm basically just like, blah, 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 this is so cool. And it would have been really nice if that video had an intro of like, this is what's new in version 14 and what you can expect. So the one thing that people don't know that I keep seeing people comment about, and I'm very surprised, there is no more max speed for FSD 14. So we have the speed profiles, which you can see here. We have sloth, chill, standard, hurry, and MadMax, but there's no max speed. So in version 13, you use the right scroll wheel. You could say, the max you can go is 70 miles per hour, 80 miles per hour, whatever. And that was nice. I missed that. I still miss that. That's gone. So you cannot set a max speed. So if the car's driving too fast for you, lower it to chill or even try sloth, because that's your only option now. And that's kind of the main change. The other main change is that the car can start. Well, version 13 could start from park, but version 14 is better at it. I'll say that. And then it can park at your destination. So when you have your destination set, you can see here I have at destination, I can park or go to curbside, and I have the choices of parking lot, street, or parking garage. And those will change based off of where you're going. Sometimes it'll say charger, sometimes it'll say something else. So you can kind of tell it what your preference is. Wow, I can give it a preference. Maybe I should be able to give it a max speed preference. You can tell it what your preference is in terms of how you want to park or where you want to park. And so that's very interesting and cool. So it allows true point-to-point full self-driving now. We're still supervising, but pretty much every drive I do now, I hit the button and I do nothing, and then it parks, and that's it. Maybe I pick a different parking spot when I get to my destination, but that's about it. Now, what it's missing, and what is hopefully coming soon, and kind of alluded to in the release notes, is more customization when it comes to parking. So the car, sometimes it'll pull in, sometimes it'll back in. I haven't found really any method as to why it chooses one or the other, but it'll either pull in or back in. I don't know how it decides its spot. Sometimes I find that it'll pull up near the entrance of where you're going. Sometimes it'll pull into a handicap spot. Sometimes it'll avoid the handicap spots or the specialty parking. It says like only park here for 15 minutes. Sometimes it'll avoid that stuff. Sometimes it won't. I think eventually we're going to get a choice of like, I prefer the back of the parking lot. Don't pick handicap spots. Stuff like that I think for sure is going to be coming eventually. Because you kind of need it, you need to be able to tell it. Or if you do have a handicap pass, you need to be able to tell, like, I need handicap parking every time. Like, don't park somewhere else because, I have a broken leg or whatever. So I think that stuff is coming. And then I guess in the later versions, as Elon said, more sentience. It'll feel more sentient, whatever that is supposed to mean. So, yeah, let's finish up this drive, and then we'll wrap it up. So a great place to finish it up here. We are supposed to turn right there, but there's a road closed sign, and FSD just ignores that and is gonna find another way to get to our destination. So that is actually great. What a great way to end it. And it's doing exactly what it needs to do, which is go all the way around. I may take over here and just park to get this ended, but that was a beautiful view of how good FSD is now at dealing with closed roads, because in older versions it would just go around those closed road signs, but now it can actually handle them. So waiting for these pedestrians. These two cars in front of us also don't know exactly how they want to take care of this situation. All right, so they gave up on their parking. And I did set the parking garage as a destination only because I have not got FSD 14 to go into a parking garage yet, and I really want to see it. Yeah, I don't know what's going on because I selected the parking garage as my destination. It even auto-selected parking garage as where I want to park, and it's just parking out here in the street. So for me, parking garages don't seem to work. I haven't got it to work one time. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this one. You will see me in the next video.